This session is a very interesting one to me. It's adapting international promotion and global marketing strategies. And I have three wonderful panelists who are going to be doing this discussion. And I will start with Michelle Coriols, who is the Trade Commissioner of Costa Rica for Canada. We also have here Gina Marquez, who is the Trade and Investment Commissioner of Mexico to Canada. And we have Aldo Parodi, the Trade Commissioner of Peru to Canada. So welcome, Michelle, Gina, and Aldo. It's a pleasure to be moderating your discussion today. And I'll just set the stage with the premise for this discussion, which is that in the current scenario with COVID-19, of course, commonly used activities like trade shows and any kind of face-to-face meetings are just not possible the way they would normally be. So many companies and organizations have had to react and start applying new global strategies, new global marketing strategies. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So let me start with my first question to the three of you. How has COVID-19 changed the way that international promotion and global marketing strategies are being developed from where you sit at your respective, you're representing the countries that you do? Let's start with Gina.
Hi, hello everybody. Buenos días. And thank you very much, first of all, for the invitation, Catherine, for leading this panel, and also to my colleagues, Michelle and Aldo, here joining us today. Well, I hope if my objective is clear, that by the end of this conversation, you will start speaking Spanish, dear Catherine, and we will answer the questions in Spanish. It's just a joke. So, according to your question, well, human race under pressure can change very fast. We have, I mean, look at us. We're doing an international trade show with global reach by a Hopin platform today. So this has two different views that have changed. One is in the line of supply. We can see that there is a redefinition of the essential activities. There is a big resilience in the supply chains to come over this pandemic. And we're seeing also some changes in the client. The client is not only facing different necessities, but the purchasing power of the client is changing because of this economic situation that is following the health crisis. So according to the Internet Advertising Bureau, 73% of the companies, of the advertising companies, have developed new assets since the beginning of this pandemic, reaching to customers. And of course, this was a big word, it's digital adaptation, So I just want to leave you with this question. I think it's very important to cover 4 axes in which, in times of crisis, that we have to readapt the business model. The first one is through the consumer demand. Understand very good what are the new necessities of your consumer. For instance, we're seeing that the consumer is no longer demanding going to a cinema. Now they are using more streaming platforms like Netflix. Second one is the value proposition. For here, a very clear example is education. No, the students are gonna still need to be educated, but you need to change the way in which you deliver that service to their students, and you need to differentiate your services. The third one is the value demonstration, and here, I mean, say no more. We are online today. The way to deliver the product is changing. It's all coming now in tangible and digital, and you can look at all the top 10 Forbes company in the growth and all these big analyses from renamed institutions, where you can see that the market caps of these digital companies are growing. Nevertheless, Shopify exceeding RBC market cap a couple of months ago for the first time, a digital company in Canada. And the last one will be the capabilities of a business. No, talking about developing your digital capabilities in your team. Looking to your workforce. I mean, from night to day, we came all to work at our houses. So these are four things that we need to look very closely into our business models, and that have changed enormously in this pandemic.
Michelle, what would you say from your perspective what are some of the global marketing strategies that you've seen being developed more right now?
Yes, no, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, and thank you for Pacific Trade for the invitation of joining this panel. I think that without a doubt, like COVID-19 came like to accelerate the digital transformation, or I would say digital evolution, as Hugo mentioned in the former panel. For the companies, especially like the small and medium-sized companies, in some way they were reluctant of doing this change, and now they have to do it. And still, for example, some of the sectors that we promote or assist, like the produce sector, there still you find companies that at this time they do not have, like, for example, a website, like something as basic as a website. Now they really need to have that. And I like to bring an example as for your question about what is something that we can do in international promotion. What we have been doing as Procomer, the Expo Promotion Agency of Costa Rica, to support the exporters. So, for example, we needed to first to assure the business continuity of the country. So we had to go to launch a digital campaign to promote, like, Costa Rica continues to source the world, right? We also have to move, without having these face-to-face events, we have to move to virtual missions. For example, now in this past 5 months, we have done like 12 virtual missions. So everything has changed, but I also find that the buyers as well, now they are more open to these kind of encounters. Before it was more difficult. They wanted to have only this face-to-face. So in some way, this kind of facilitate the connections now between, especially these companies that we represent that are abroad.
And so, Aldo, what would you add to that? Is there anything that from the Peru side that you have noticed, strategies that are maybe different from what people were used to before and that have had to take priority because of the situation? Yeah, I think you're still on mute, Aldo.
It's to avoid the dogs. Okay. Well, thank you for inviting me to this event. I believe we all need to adapt to these new customer behaviors. It has been changing or deepened since the beginning of the COVID-19. Before that, some trends were already in place, e-commerce or working from home. So these are no new trends, but this is our new reality, and we need to adapt the way that we promote our goods and services according to this new reality. I have been also seeing that customers are prioritizing essential goods and services. For instance, in food, they are buying different kind of food, and textiles also, they are buying different kind of textiles. For instance, I barely use suits now because we are now dressing more comfortable dress. That's the new way, and we feel good. I don't like ties, right? So since now, perhaps I will only use ties if really necessary. I believe that people will start buying new things. So the demand is going to change. So the offers need to change. So I believe that we need to understand all of this in order to refresh our strategies and adapt our products and services in this new world, and to choose the appropriate channels to promote those products and services internationally. Of course, as human beings, we like to be close to each other, face-to-face meetings. But we believe that for business purposes, we can use digital tools to contact customers. And in fact, this crisis has gave us the opportunity to use those digital new tools. We have been using that in Peru in the last months. We have had a virtual meetings in some specific platforms. Not this. Also, we started to use the Zoom, this kind of digital tools, but then we use more professional and tools for virtual meeting, and it went very well, especially if those meetings are concentrated with a specific offer and specific customer. No, those broad, wide, multi-line, multilateral shows that we held before. But when we concentrate in offer and we concentrate in demand, I think those tools can be very powerful, and they are going to be used very often from now on.
Well, talk about small companies that are looking to start exporting. It's sort of a daunting thought at the moment to get into exports when you haven't been doing that already. It's one thing to sort of adjust your strategy that you were already developing before, but now if you're just getting started as a small company, what would be the best way, in your opinion, to connect with customers in this new and sort of challenging reality where you can't really have face-to-face meetings and everything has to be done digitally for starters? Michelle, what would you say about small companies getting into exports?
Oh, yes, thank you. The first piece of advice I'll give the small companies, like to reach out to the trade promotion agency of their country. This will be the process of the connections with international buyers will be way easier for them if they reach out to, because we already have the connections with importers, with the buyers. We already have not only the connections, but we are in the market. We have built the relationships with them. So I think that's the best piece of advice I can give to them. And also it's very important. For example, now, we don't have, or they don't have, the travel expenses. Sometimes, and talking specifically about Canada, sometimes for Latin American countries, like Costa Rica, getting a visa to come to Canada is difficult. It's a process they have right now. They don't need that process because everything is happening virtual. So now, since they don't have to invest or put money or budget for traveling, invest then in sending samples, in building a better website, and then get used as well to these tools that Aldo was mentioning before. Of course, we've been these past 5 months, Zooming, Teams, you name it, WhatsApp, we have, but also there are other new platforms that are used like the one we are using today, right? So I think it's important to keep up to date about these new tools that they can use to get in touch with the new buyers or customers that they want. And also, the events are going virtual. So it's a matter of doing a research now, look for which events make sense for them to invest and participate. Now, I think that the world is easier to them to access because at this time, everything is happening virtual. So there is no borders, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, yeah, the field is a bit sort of more even now at the entry to, reaching out to customers digitally is a much more even field, I feel, that smaller companies can take advantage of right now. Gina, what would you add to that? What's your advice, I guess, for smaller companies that want to get into exporting and need to start connecting with potential customers?
That is very true, to digitalize. Now, this is a moment of opportunity for the SMEs, specifically to the SMEs, to reach different markets. There are some, you make a business, and the first client that you reach, it doesn't necessarily need to be in your country. You can create a marketplace online, you can reach Amazon, and you can reach an international consumer. So this is a great moment of opportunity, crisis, but moment of opportunity for SMEs, that if they find a correct product and their right target, they will be able to look at that with a global outreach. The other one is innovation. Innovation is super important, Catherine, moreover to SMEs, because they need to keep readapting and to keep looking for ways to make things happen. So the other day, and I told you about this example before, we are seeing now theater plays, little theater plays that are now, they never imagined. They always have little quorums and 10 people in Mexico City, etc. And now they are able to reach the Mexican market by Zoom, but they never imagined that the place in the United States, in Canada, and in different cities, that all the actors were really surprised that they were reaching different markets. Not because they wanted to, but this happened. However, there are a lot of intangibles that are now able to be innovated in different ways, no? And the one I need to support here that Michelle explained it very good, Aldo too, is to look for help. There are a lot of institutional, according to each country you're from, there are a lot of institutional trade agencies, accelerators, incubators, ministers of economy. Every country has its own way of doing business and helping little, medium and small enterprises to get what they need to be abroad and to accelerate their situation.
Aldo, what would you add to that in the way of advice for smaller companies looking to start exporting?
Well, it's a very challenging time for SMEs. They are facing, for instance, cash flow problems because of the variation of the demands. But as SMEs, they can also adapt faster to the changes that are happening in the market, right? And for instance, they could redirect their productions to the new needs. That's for me is the main challenge to solve in the short term. And I believe we as trade offices, we have a decisive role here in providing them information about the new consumer trends, the new behaviors, and also what opportunities we are finding for them. But the connection with the customers, I believe, will come after they have adapted their offer to the new needs. And for that also, the trade office are a very good resources because, as Michelle said, we know the market, we know what the customers are, we know what are the customer trends, and when they adapt their offers, we can use all those digital tools in order to connect them to the customers, the B2B meeting, the virtual shows. Even there are being organizing missions, virtual missions, to visit factories or agricultural places, but again, I believe that commercial connections need to be done in a very focused way. I mean, specific customers, specific buyers.
Brings up to the next question, which is, the importance of building strategic commercial relationships, even under these difficult situations. Let's go back to Gina. What are some ways that businesses can keep building their commercial relationships in a strategic way, even if it's, virtually and remotely, as we were having to do now? What's some advice you can give companies around that?
Yes, Catherine, thank you. It's super important to build not relationships, but partnerships. Partnerships never go out of style. And these partnerships are not only to your clients, it's to your 360 degrees. You need to speak about your customers, your suppliers, you need to speak about your own team, because when you start changing this part, create a strong liaison, like they say in French. If you don't create this connection, you're gonna start wasting money and energy in repeating, in getting different clients, different suppliers, different teams, and then you start being not efficient and not productive in your business. So it is very important to have bulletproof stakeholders that you nurture in a long-term vision. It's very important that you not only stakeholders or strategic partnerships only in the moment of crisis. Have them always, keep them close, nurture them, come close, be friendly. And overall, you need to be very clear that these partnerships are aligned with your values, with the values of your company. Why? Because remember the 73% companies that I told you, of advertising companies that I told you in the question before? So in this study, they mentioned that over 50% of these companies were relocating. The message of selling was about the mission of the company. Why? Because if the people don't have money right now to buy, they at least have a chance to position the brand that you are supporting, you are there in a crisis, etc.
Michelle, what would you add to that on the importance of building strategic commercial relationships and how to go about doing that?
Yes, I'm going to echo a little bit of Gina's words here. I think totally it's very important to create partnerships. It's important for the exporter not to see their buyer just like a buyer, their client. It's exactly their partner. So it's important to try like to build a strategy together. So there is and also I think these challenging times that we are living, it's very important to have like let's say empathy. What's happening with the buyer here in the market, and the buyer will need to understand what's happening in the region where they are importing the products. I like to bring an example of we at Procomer, we promote goods and services from Costa Rica, and one is like the educational services. So this is about how we can bring international students going abroad, like in this case going to Costa Rica. So we try to build these collaboration models between the universities. And as you know, like for example, tourism has been impacted a lot because of the travel bans. And the students, of course, they cannot travel at this time, like to the different universities. So, the international offices of the universities at this time, it is like, okay, what we can do. So this is the time where, in this case, the Costa Rican universities, Peruvian or Mexican universities, they really need like to work together with their international universities to see how we can build a strategy. For example, what they can do in the meantime, can we do, instead of course, going because they are not able to travel, can they do some virtual exchanges, some, virtual internships, so that they can still, continue building their relationships? Because what I think the most important is, do not wait until everything passes to do something, right? Not doors, not go and knock the doors. Whenever this is the time where you really need to stay close and together and really see this buyer importer as your partner.
What would you add on the importance of building strategic commercial relationships?
Well, one sector heavily impacted in the COVID-19, tourism, right? And while the internal tourism is starting to recover, for instance, here in Ontario, you want to reserve a cottage or you go to a vineyard, they are full already. So internal tourism is becoming very active here in Canada. But international tourism will have a long recovery, at least until the vaccine is reached, right? However, we need to continue being in the mind of the potential international tourists, but also in the mind of tour operators, agencies, and all professionals related to this important sector. So on one hand, we need to maintain the relationships with the tour operators that already have their DMCs in the destinations. But in the other hand, we need to promote new destinations that are more suitable with the new customers' needs. We need to emphasize in sanitary protocols, in offer open spaces tour. We're very careful about the capacity and visitor flows in every destination we are going to offer. Of course, nature and adventure are two segments that are going to be very developed in the upcoming months and years. So we as Tourist More, because Prom Peru has also three responsibilities: is promote export, tourism, and also investments, the three. As Tourist Board, we have organized several seminars and online meetings with the tour operations here in Canada, and we will hold an international meeting in November where tour operators will meet with DMCs. So that's the tools that we are using in order not only to maintain the relationship, but to build upon that.
That's great. I just want to encourage anyone in the audience who has a question. Now would be the time to write it into the chat, the stage chat, if you would like. I'm hoping to have a few minutes left at the end for questions. And while people are thinking of some questions, I'm going to ask you one final question to the panelists. What would be your main piece of advice right now for a small company that's looking to expand globally during these uncertain times? If you could just give them one main piece of advice, what would it be? Michelle, let's start with you.
Well, I cannot stress enough importance of finding help, and go to your trade promotion office to get assistance. And the other thing, very, very important, is to do your research. It's very important. Now you have to adapt. Everything is changing, so it's important to understand what's happening in every market. It's important also to keep in mind that at this time, every country will like to boost its economy by employing locally. They will encourage buying locally. So it's very important to come with a very innovative value proposition, because if not, it's going to be very difficult to enter a new market. So yes, go to your trade office and do extensive research about how you will need to adapt your products. And even sometimes, if this is the time to, some companies will be at this time in survival mode. That's good. If you need to keep for now selling locally, do that. But the most important is to understand how a company needs to adapt the production of the new consumer behaviors that we're experiencing at this time.
Aldo, what would you say? What would be your main piece of advice to a small company?
I agree with Michelle. I mean, this is our time to understand the new consumer trends, behaviors, and to adapt the offer to the new needs. That's a fact. And also, I would like to advise SMEs that going global too soon may consume the resources that perhaps now are scarce because of the pandemic and that are affecting their cash flow. So it is better to analyze which markets are the more suitable, the more profitable, and concentrate their efforts and resources in the markets they can expect a better return. That will be my advice. And of course, as a trade office, we have all the tools to help them to take the right decision for that.
And Gina, I'll give you the last word on this. What would be your main piece of advice for a small company looking to go global right now?
Thank you, Catherine. Have a strategy, analyze, do your homework, do your business plan. It is very important to have a business plan. There's a lot of companies that don't have it, specifically SMEs. Do it, understand your demand, your competition. The second one would be flexible to adaptation, adapt, digitalize, be able to pivot when you need to pivot. And this will make you more resilient to difficult times. And for last, not the least, is also tap into support. Don't be shy to tap into support, not only with governmental institutions. Here at the Embassy of Mexico, we are very happy to help you reach and connect opportunities within Mexico and Canada, but also tap into support of the people you know, of your network, tap into support of your colleagues, of your friends. They always have advice, and it's always interesting to hear different opinions than yours. So that will be it.
Yeah, and there are lots of organizations that are all about global trade and that are happy to make warm introductions, virtually or otherwise. But there's so many resources out there. So, and of course, the three of you are three of those excellent resources for people, companies that are based in your respective countries and your trading partners. So I really appreciate your time today. It was a pleasure to moderate your discussion. I'm not sure we got any questions per se, but I think you really gave us a lot of really good information today. So thank you so much for letting me moderate your panel. And I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Catherine Bussman. I knew I was going to forget something, and that's what I forgot to do at the beginning. I didn't introduce myself. So it was an honor to moderate your panel today. And thank you so much, Gina, Michelle, and Aldo, for being here today with me.
It's been a pleasure, Catherine. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.